Welcome to the American Dream Podcast, a show all about what it takes to achieve the American dream through a career in tech. I am your host, Elias Torres, and today I am joined by Maria Medrano, longtime diversity leader in big tech and co-founder of Inspírame, a company focused on erasing the barriers to higher education. In this episode, Maria explains what she's choosing to give back through higher education, how she overcame her fear of money, and make sure to listen until the end because she and I are going to collaborate on an AI project. This is exciting. Welcome to the show, Maria Medrano. I just literally met you, but I'm already super excited to talk to you.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm really excited to have this conversation and have a real conversation. So let's jump right in.
Tell me a little bit about who you are, the real Maria.
Yeah, the real Maria. So I'll tell you, my name is Maria Alejandrina Medrano. My familia know me as Nina because I'm one of 142 of us first cousins, and about 30 of us are Maria algo. So
Yeah.
I'm Maria Alejandrina. So at home I'm Nina. And so that's who I am. I respond to both names. I'm proud Mexican American Chicana, born and raised in San Francisco, California. In the Mission District, in the 80s. So cultura is just who I am. I am proudly Chicana through and through, even from a authenticity perspective, from a language perspective, meaning that I am bilingual through and through. So thank you for giving me permission that when I get very passionate, I will go Chicano Spanish, I will go Mexican Spanish. And when people ask, are you bilingual? I'm like, yes. I dream in both languages. I think in both languages. I speak in both languages, and I live in both cultures. I'm the oldest in my familia, so I like to always say this as well. I'm the oldest and the only girl, so I have 3 brothers. So a mí me tocó la chinga, as we say at home, because I had to make sure I kept the boys in order, right? My parents, who I love dearly, were high school, I would say, sweethearts. My mom was 16 when she had me. My dad was 19. And so we grew up together, is what I like to say. And even though very humbled in the Mission in the San Francisco area.
But by together, we don't mean just the physicality, but you both grew up as individuals together.
As individuals together. And what was so powerful about it is because my mom, who was 16, became an orphan at the age of 3. Entonces, my mom had a desire to, what was it like to have familia? And my dad was one of 13. And even though he had both his parents, my grandfather siempre estaba de este lado trabajando, and he would go back every year. So he didn't have the traditional mom and dad at home. He had his mom, his sisters, and his brothers who were helping to bring them up. So when I say that I had my 2 parents and my brothers and we grew up together, we took care of that because we knew that in itself was privilege, that we were able to be together in the same country, have one another, because they knew what it was like to not have one of those components. At the same time, my mom being born in this country, but, having to spend time in Mexico and back and forth because of her circumstances, she was very aware that she was U.S. citizen, born in this country, and knew that school was the right thing to do, but just didn't know how to access it because she didn't have the support. When my dad came from the community in the Rancho de Mexico, where he was educated until the 8th grade, but he understood the importance of familia, values, morals, like the whole importance of cultura. So I like to tell folks that I grew up in a world of just like the yin and the yang, the duality piece of like really being in the cultura, but then also being supported by my mom, who was like, you can be whatever you want to become. I don't know how to get you there. I'm going to support you. And my dad really always just saying, like, do whatever you need to do, as long as I respected myself, as long as I respected the family, as I respected the home. So there was this mutual respect that from a very young age, I remember and I carried with myself. And so I share that because of that, I knew that from a very young age, what separated me from so many others was that I had the opportunity to go to school. And so I prioritized that. I was that student that went to school. When I was at school, I always had my dad's voice in my head as well, is that you appreciate your teachers. You appreciate that you get to go to school because no todos pueden, right? So I would volunteer to clean the erasers, volunteer to, be, yard duty, whatever it was. And so I like to tell folks that my growing up piece was a beautiful upbringing. I mean, I didn't know that I was poor from a monetary perspective because I had so many rich things within me from my life perspective with my familia.
Yeah, and I just love everything about that. And I would say that the whole growing up together in a way. I was married when I was 22. I met my wife. Um, she was the first woman I met into the first classroom I walked in when I came to Florida, when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in a way, we grew together too, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
had kids
Mm-hmm.
early. Because a lot of people now, society has changed, and
Yeah.
there's a whole topic, of the struggle that we have with pregnancies, with IVF, with when is the right time for us to feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable to do that. And everybody sees my kids, and I have a 21-year-old, I have a 19 and a
Oh, me
17.
too. Me
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So so it was like, so your mom was 16. My mother-in-law was 17 when she
Mm-hmm.
had uh, her first son,
Mm-hmm.
and so forth and so forth. And so I was 22, but I was 26, 27 when I had my first child, and now all these people are still just having babies, and I'm like, I already built companies,
Yeah.
I already created generational wealth. I already have my kids are graduating third year college, first year college, senior year high school, and everybody's like, how'd you do all of this? Because we had a different upbringing that made us tougher, or that our world was
Exactly.
different, and we were like,
World was so
this is
different.
this is what we were supposed to do, and it was hard, and then we just went on to what was hard instead of looking for what was easy.
Exactly.
And now
Exactly.
the whole poor thing is like, I now hang around with billionaires,
Mm-hmm.
and I hang out with billionaires that don't even have children,
Mm-hmm.
and people are asking me, how do I raise my children that
Mm-hmm.
I don't yet have,
Mm-hmm.
to give the experience that you give in your children?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, it, people, if you're poor, you want to be rich. If you're rich, you want to be poor.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
I
like,
can tell you so many stories on, yeah, we could go on for days on that
yeah,
topic, but you're absolutely right. I mean, I have to tell you that my mom's biggest dream for me was for me to graduate high school with no babies.
yeah,
That was it. That, like, please do that, and if you by chance could buy a car, like, and so, yeah, when I got to
yeah,
16, I was working this entire time. I bought my first car, then I graduated high school, and then I went to college with, yeah, no babies, right? And that
no
was a
baby,
big deal. So I was the first to graduate high school, I was the first to go to college. Now, I got to college and I graduated college and I was pregnant with my first child, but that wasn't going to stop me, right? I had my first child.
yeah,
And then I went to graduate school and I got pregnant with my second during graduate school. And then I decided to go back and get a second master's and had
yeah,
my third child. So the joke in my family was higher education for each degree. I have a child. But the beauty about that is, again, is that we grew up together, right? So I have my 21-year-old. I have
yeah,
my 18-year-old. I have my 14-year-old. My 21-year-old is in her finished her second semester of her MBA program already. My 18-year-old already has 1 year of college behind him. He's off to college as an accomplished pianist, where he's traveling the world already to perform as a pianist.
yeah,
And my 14-year-old is starting high school this fall, but this summer he's already starting college, taking 2 community college classes again. And that's only because they have the privilege that both their parents ended up being the first in their families to go to college, to understand those processes, also keep them very cultured in the fact that they know who they are and what they stand for,
yeah,
so then they can go off and contribute to society. And that's really what we need to be talking about, is like, how do we cultivate and include all those aspects so that we can be good human beings,
yeah,
contribute, also keep the culture element to ensure that we don't lose who we are, because by not losing who we are, then we can thrive and do so much
yeah.
more.
Absolutely, I agree. Man. I think that the difference between you and me is that you're 10,000 times more disciplined. Like, to my kids, I didn't teach them Spanish because we lived in Boston, Massachusetts. And then I try like music lessons, and then they would complain and cry. So I was like, well, I'm not taking any more lessons. I don't have money to pay for those things. And so, like, I actually I'm more way kind of like what you said about your parents, that are like, they were free and they would give you. I give them the lessons. I tell them the truth. They know, right? And but I'm letting them be who they are. And it's just so interesting, nature versus nurture, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like, my daughter, this semester, she has a co-op program on Northeastern computer science, and she's just doing too much. She's doing like
Mhm.
3 jobs, um, clubs, president, doing homework, doing classes when she's not supposed to, working for me, doing AI stuff, and I'm just like, you're doing too much. Like, go, stop working for me, because it's just like no bueno. And then the kids just do whatever they want, and I'm just like, there's some stuff that is built in them. They didn't grow up how I grew up,
Mhm.
and there's other stuff that, if, like you were saying, like all that, like that respect for the opportunity that you had in college, right, or in
Mhm.
school.
Mhm.
People don't. People. It just hurts me to see people struggle with. I hate this school. I don't know what I want to do. And like their school is being paid by their parents, or they're taking a loan. And I mean, the respect
Mhm.
you have to have that loan.
Mhm.
Those things that you were taught are the most valuable things in the world, that are priceless, that we don't even know as a society how to replicate that unless you're going through that hardship yourself,
Exactly. Exactly. I have to tell you that with my kids, you're right. There was a lot of rigor in my home and a lot of discipline. And not because I wanted to overwhelm them, but I would always tell them, I just don't want you to tell me, why didn't you tell me so? And because I've
Yeah.
spent so much time in the tech industry and would see how competitive the landscape was, I would tell my kids all the time, it would be irresponsible of me for me not to expose you and help you understand that if you don't dedicate yourself to do something that you really love, that you're
Yeah.
really good at, I don't want you later saying, "Why mom didn't tell me." Like it's going to be the
Yeah.
opposite. I'd rather you be upset that I exposed you to too much and overwhelmed you, and then you chose what you wanted to do. With my son, prime example, he's 18. He hated piano classes.
Yeah, of course.
Hated it so much. I mean, and it was so difficult for me to get him to the piano classes because I was always traveling for work and whatnot. So I figured out, okay, what could I do that's different? Figured out there's piano teachers that teach piano virtually. And then the
Yeah.
pandemic happened. So I said, we're going that route. Now he's 18. He absolutely loves it. That's all he talks about. And I always remind him, remember, if I would have let you quit, and the reason why I continue to ensure that you did this is I
Yeah.
knew that deep down you loved it. You just didn't want to put the effort in. And I
It's
would
it's a, it's a
constantly
tough
remind him.
balance. Yeah, it's a tough balance, for us. I will say we're great parents. You're a great parent. I'm a great parent. That's it. Everybody's on the record.
Yeah.
We're at this level of top parents. Um, and I feel like I'm a parent a lot to the teams that I've built and I've grown in the
Yeah.
companies. I
All
do
day.
see them, whether they like it or not, as
Hmm.
children of mine in some ways. And the problem is that in some ways we have so much wisdom because of what we live, but not everything that is our wisdom and that is right translates to the right decision for them. So it's something
Exactly. Yep.
we've learned. So we will
Hmm.
try, and we'll say, like, trust me, you will appreciate this, or you will not appreciate this. I'm right a lot, but it doesn't really matter, right? I think it's
Yeah.
like they have to. If they don't get it, I really don't push. I right now my world is like, I've built so many companies. I invite people to join me and work for me. For example,
Hmm.
they worked for me before. Work for me before doesn't mean they want to work for me again, right?
Hmm.
They're like their risk profile, their wisdom, their stuff, their opportunity, and I'm just like, this is gonna be a life changing thing. And people are like, I'm not sure. I
Hmm.
want. It's just like, I one of the things I teach my kids is just say yes to everything.
Hmm.
It's just like,
Hmm.
it's like, don't. I really struggle when people really just say no.
Exactly.
I
Because
think say,
they close opportunities. Just say yes and be open to the
and try it
opportunities and try it. Yeah.
and try
My
it.
kids,
It's just,
my kids, there's a rule in my home that they know. I don't even have to say it anymore. They just know. It's like the minute they would say, I don't want to do that, it was already me like, okay, why don't you want to do that? Just to make sure they
yeah,
had that growth mindset that they understood. Don't
right.
right away say no. You have to say yes. Try it.
Yes.
And if you really don't want to do it, help me understand why not. And if it's a
Yeah.
real valid reason, But if it's because I don't want to get up at 6 in the morning, or I don't want to do it, it's
Yeah.
I mean, because there's so many things that, for instance, my kids every year go to Guatemala for 10 days, and they support the mission. And every year they go back, they're doing something, either building a hospital or contributing to a school, whatever it may be. The first year, nadie quiso ir, porque 10
Yeah, of course.
días. And I'm like, you're going to go? You know why you're going to go? Because
Oh
I
my
would have
God.
wished I could have done
Yeah,
that as a kid. My parents could have never afforded this at all. And it
exactly.
took
And
them
that's
going that one time. Yeah.
yeah. It exactly that's how I am with the kids, and I'm just like, because before I'd be like, we're gonna go do something, and they would be like, what? Where are we going? I don't want to do this, and I'm like, and they're like, where are we going? What are we gonna do? How long are we gonna be? So I said to them, never ever again ask me those questions. If I say
Mm-hmm.
we're going somewhere, you just say yes. And then they
Mm-hmm.
all come and they're like, oh, we had a great time. We did this, we did this. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing with me is like, more and more, anything I invite you to is pure fun and just like mind blowing things. You know what I mean? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like I took my son to Sequoia Base Camp, where he saw Elon Musk in a group of like small.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So like I'm taking
Mm-hmm.
him stuff like this. So I'm like, if I say you get on the plane with me, you get on the plane with me right now. It's like,
Yeah.
So like him, the second one has learned that. Like if I say get up, let's go. I hate explaining where I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, we're not
So
going to waste. I mean, we're so busy that we
I
can
don't
talk
have
about
time to
this for
bring
hours.
people
It's like,
along.
I don't have time. Exactly.
Well, it's like you're in or you're out. That's I get pissed with everybody. Like you're
Yeah.
in or you're out. I'm here saying let's go. You don't want to go? Not my
Mm-hmm.
problem. We move on. There's
Mm-hmm.
thousands of people that want to do this, and so
Mm-hmm.
we need to find the people that really would deserve it.
Yeah.
I think, and so like for example, another thing I was talking to a co-founder of mine, and we were discussing that um, people are afraid of new things, right?
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
and they're like something new is coming. AI, for example, right? So AI
Mm-hmm.
is coming,
Mm-hmm.
and people are like, no, I'm against it. And so I'm like, to me, as I'll say it this way, but it's like the stupidest thing to be against something new. It's like your default answer can be I'm against it. It
Exactly.
should be really like, okay, instead of doing that, if there's a problem, then go work on the thing that you want to be the positive
Mm-hmm.
thing. But everything that is new, it's just silly to stop it on the get go instead of trying to understand it, trying to find out what's good in it. And if it's
Exactly.
bad, then work on the thing that is going to make it good. But
Yes, and
once
or make
something
it
comes out
better.
of the
So that
Pandora's box,
exactly.
make it better.
Oh,
But we can't.
I,
There's nothing we can
I've
do.
yeah, we could talk about that topic all day as well. I mean, the same thing as an entrepreneur, I find this every single day. And then it's explaining, it's like, instead of just having this closed mindset, it's like, why wouldn't you? And let's have a conversation around what could make this better, because
Exactly.
we're heading in that way, right? And I would say
But
culturally
it's
as Latinos
every
as well,
change in
it's
the history of the world. Like if it's a
exactly,
car, like no, I want horses. If you
exactly.
don't want this, you're not gonna be alcohol, but you're gonna do this. Marriage, this, that, whatever it is, right? Do we build homes? Do we do solar? Do we go into space? Do we not go into space? Do we build
Mm-hmm.
computers? Do we replace jobs? Do we create an industrial age? Like that doesn't matter. You
What
can't stop the
virtual
world.
meetings, in-person meetings, I mean,
Remote.
everything has,
Yeah.
yeah,
And like,
and I think it's most important that we continue to have these conversations, especially when we think about, especially for me, our Latino community, that's the largest growing population across this nation. And culturally, it's embedded of us. I'm like, oh no, para qué? Oh no, se van a asustar. There's always this out of love and care, but it does not help us any, because then we stay
yeah.
back and we stay reserved. And I can't tell you how many times I get that question of like, why aren't you like that? Why are you so open-minded? And I'm like, because I was tired of being poor. Like I was curious about, why can't I do and say and have what they have? I don't want theirs. I want my own, but I know I have to gain skills in order to get there.
Let's let's
It's
um let's talk about that. I don't want to be poor.
yeah.
Tell me why didn't you want to be poor?
It was limiting. I mean, just the conversation we had, being in my family, I remember the day that I learned about bank accounts. It wasn't at home. It was a fact that I was a second grader at our elementary school, and a bank went to the school to talk about this concept of savings. and how you actually create accounts at banks to deposit your money to save money. And then you remember they gave this little book with a little sleeve, and they said they would come to school every other week so that we could deposit our savings, whether it be $1, whether it be $2, anything, but just to build that concept of savings. And I remember my mom always talking about we didn't have enough, right? And since I was the oldest only girl, I was my mom's biggest confidant. I knew when we had enough for rent. I knew when we didn't. Even from the youngest age, there was always a conversation about
Maria,
money.
let's be real. Um, I was working at what was pre IBM for me. I was in college, and I was at a help desk answering the phone, and this young fellow said to me, "You should set up an index fund."
Mm-hmm.
So I already had done up in my bank account with my mom at Bank of America, Nations Bank.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I had a bank account. I was like 17,
Yeah.
18. There was no money in there.
Yeah.
But then this guy goes, set up this thing, Elias, where you just set up a $50 direct withdrawal from your bank account. This whole like notion of just withdraw it from your bank account, goes into the index fund. You set it and you forget it, and then it's just gonna grow. I was putting $50 a month. Um, I don't know. It grew to like $10,000. I lost track of that account. I don't know what happened. The funds changed. I don't know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it doesn't longer withdraw because I don't have that bank account. I think that that's how
Yeah.
that stopped. Can we really stop being poor by saving?
I think there is a notion of understanding the relationship with money, right? That was my big thing. This isn't just the saving piece, right? For me, it was the concept of, oh, money isn't bad. Because
Right.
money in my community growing up, it was a bad thing, right? It was
Wow. Wow.
dirty. It was this, it was that. There wasn't enough of it. So for me, there was this thing about understanding like, money isn't bad. It actually should be used to be able to work for you, to be able to access
Yeah.
more things and ensure that you can actually support the family. So that's why I started with that savings piece, because it required me to understand that you can have a different relationship with money and bringing that home, because at home it was very negative. And
Exactly.
so
No,
yeah, so
I totally get that. But now what I'm saying is that we're advising the future generation, right, through this podcast.
well,
How do we stop
the
being
future
poor?
generation is about investing, taking the risk to invest. That's the biggest piece. But in order to
Right.
invest, you have to have the discipline to understand that you have to save to have something to invest. Like there's no way that I could have started my own startup without the risk that I took in investing what I had grown in my stocks, in my
Right.
all that time that's been accumulating, but that you
But
have to
let's give them the secrets. Let's keep going. Let's give
let's
people what I want to give here is people the secrets that we don't know, that we didn't know. So first of all, saving make you stop being poor? What's the answer? Yes or no?
nope.
No. Savings will never saving little pennies will never make you stop being poor. It
No,
doesn't grow.
it
Savings
doesn't.
does not grow. And you could only put a little slice of the barely thing that you make and a job into savings. It's you make this little and a saving is this little and you save
Tiny
it and you make a
piece.
little bit and then you just will just store that little and never be able to use it. Second, you said investing. So yes,
Investing.
investing, and we can talk about the different ways people can invest, is the only way. One is investing money into something
Mm-hmm.
because there's people making lots of money.
Lots.
I invested tens of thousands of dollars, not to be this so specific, but not a lot, into a company called Clavio that just went public 10 years later. And I was the first investor in it.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
made 290x result on
Yes.
my money, right? And
Yes.
so like without lifting a finger
Finger.
for
Yeah.
10 years. My
Yes.
friend Andrew, the CEO of that company, has killed himself. You should see his grays. We were the same color when we met. And he has the grays hair. I don't have the grays hair. And so I made a ton of money by just investing. That's how you make money. You
Mm-hmm.
invest your time into
Mm-hmm.
endeavors that could generate more money. if we want to stop being poor, we have to do those things, right?
And I'm going to go because of just where I started is that we have to educate our community so they understand. So that thank you, like for this podcast piece, that is that. Because let me tell you, my investments, yes, have been in things. My investment even in yourself, right? So that you have what it needs to have those skills to be invited to invest because not everybody has the opportunity to invest. You get asked to invest, right? You have to be seen as someone that they have the opportunity to invest or I want them to invest because let me tell you, as a CEO of a startup, I don't want just anyone's money. I want that investor that's going to care, has some expertise. So it's the full package. We have to make sure that people understand that piece as well, that it's not just this money and people are going to take it because it's all it's
Yeah.
all connected, all super connected.
I have a big recent subject on that topic on that I can talk about. Before that, though, there's one more thing I want to add to the investing piece. Most of the people making the biggest money in tech today are not investing their own money into their own startup.
Mm,
Secret number X here, right? It's a, my goodness, like I would say to most people that are starting companies, do not use your friends and families and your own money for the startup. It's just completely unnecessary. Whether we can argue about bootstrapping and VCs and evilness and this and the other, but everybody else is doing it. At the beginning, if the system is not perfect, might not be fair, might not be whatever, but if you're putting all your blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, God forbid you're going to put your savings, that would be your backup plan. Because the
mm-hmm,
VCs have their backup plan. They
mm-hmm.
don't have a problem with money. They're
Yeah,
not going
it's
to be
everyone
hurt about
else's money.
it. It's everybody else's money. Somebody's always make money with somebody else's
This
money
is money. Yeah.
until you have enough money to then, if you want to use your money, go for it when it's
Mm-hmm.
disposable to you, but not at the beginning. So use other people's money and do that. What do you think?
I agree. But Elias, that's where you can be my mentor, right? Because when you are the first and you don't
Yeah.
have that resource, but you know what's needed to fix the problem, that's when you think, do I want to take that risk? Is the
Yes.
risk worth it? And for
Yeah.
me, my purpose and my values are worth the investment. So I'm proud to say that I've used
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
own to take the risk on me because other than that, then no one will pay attention. At this point, people are wanting to invest, right? Everybody's
Exactly.
wanting to invest because they
Right.
see what's possible. But I completely agree. That's why we
Yeah.
have to create more individuals to know, let's create that disposable income so we can get there. But in the
Right.
meantime, we know that the system isn't fair, right? And we need to make sure that there's more people that look like us that are able to participate. And in order for that to happen, is these honest conversations need to be out there so we can make sure we have those opportunities
So,
to do that. Because if not, it's not
yeah.
happening.
No matter what I say, right? And sometimes people criticize me. Well, now you're in this position, but I'm still telling you the truth because I was in all the positions before. I can
Mm-hmm,
speak from my own personal experience, right?
mm-hmm,
But the job of the immigrant or the immigrant mindset person or the person that's starting from the bottom, you could be an immigrant in the country you were born, right? In the
mm-hmm,
sense of how you conduct yourself and how
mm-hmm.
outside of the circle you are. And so the notion is that you got to get the job done however it needs to get done. If nobody's giving you a check, then use your money
Then
by all
you
means. Yeah,
exactly.
it's so there's no judgment whatsoever. Forget about judging. That's another rule. Forget about what anybody says.
Mm-hmm,
But I'm
mm-hmm.
just trying to show people that if you have access, so when you invest in yourself, invest in getting to be known by people that could write the check, or
Exactly.
you save, or you improve yourself, whatever it takes, right,
Mm-hmm,
to do that. And don't get me started about, like, we want to teach Latinos, right? We want to teach immigrants. We want to teach anyone that here we are begging for money from an investor, right? That we don't have the network. We're starting on, and we're like, and nobody wants to give us the money. So we're like just
mm-hmm,
desperate. We're going from VC to VC to VC to VC to
mm-hmm.
VC,
Game of theses.
and and everybody says no, right? But the reality is that those people need somebody that is going to dedicate 10 to 15 years of their lives to make their money work. It is a privilege for someone, for you to say yes to someone to take their money. So we have to give the confidence to the entrepreneurs, no matter where they're from, that that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we just put the VC in here, but it's like I'm the one who works 24/7
Yeah.
for
To
the
your
girl.
point, your friend, right, has all the gray hairs. Like it's we are the ones that are there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do it. And I was like, so I grabbed that, I look at that stock value, and I'm like, at the beginning, I was feeling bad. Luckily, in this case, I was literally feeling bad. And it has changed my perspective and who I take money from and who I don't take money from.
Mm-hmm.
Because people come to me now and they're like, I never met them before. And they're like, here's $1 million. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm sorry, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know you. You haven't even said what you're going to do for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot even operate from that perspective. Like if you are promising me that you're going to do something, you want me to give money to, that does not apply. I have to work backwards from the people that believed in me when I had nothing. I need to take care of them first because they believed in me. I return money for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind working for them for some more, right?
Mm-hmm.
The new people, they have to do it for me first before
Exactly.
I take their money from now on, right? And so it's like
Mm-hmm.
the tables have turned. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
just laying that out here for people to listen and say, it is possible within
It's
one generation.
possible. Yeah, no, it is possible. I'm saying in my family, I say it often, Inspírame, which is the company that I built and I'm leading, or our mission is to help end generational poverty through educational attainment because it's possible. I've broken that cycle in my generation, in my family, and I've seen it in my kids. We're doing more, and that American dream and that prosperity means so many different things to different people. What I can tell you, what I know, what it means for me is what it gives me that purpose to go do, to know that at the end of the day, the circumstances for my family, my community are completely different than what it was a short, 35, 40 years ago.
1,000%, right? Tell me a little bit about this career of yours. You have an insane career, right? You I don't know. I'm just opening your LinkedIn right now, right? Um, Crazy stuff, right? And it just goes back a while back because you and I are old, but there's like Cisco,
I was at
some
Cisco
some
for
good stuff.
14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had the privilege of ending up in the tech industry before even knowing that the tech industry was an industry, right? I actually started at a company called WebEx. If anybody is familiar with WebEx, the technology platform, the web platform, they're one of the early players
Well, hold
back
on.
in the day.
You started there. That was your first job?
It wasn't my first job. By the time I was at WebEx, I had maybe 5 jobs before then where I started in the finance world. I was actually doing revenue recognition and credit management for
You mean WebEx,
construction companies.
WEBEX.
WEBX. So I ended up at WEBEX after 6 years of being in the role of a credit financing for Caterpillar and an elevator switch company called N3 Inc., and also for a blue collar labor staffing company. And I call that out because when I was doing those roles, I was finishing up my bachelor's and I had just started my master's degree in organizational development around culture and org change necessary to be able to meet the changing dynamics of our workforce.
Well, hold
And
on. I'm reading your LinkedIn here. You know what my favorite entry in your LinkedIn is?
what is that?
La Tortilla Factory.
Oh, I love La Tortilla Factory.
I'm just saying, that's some real shit right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, so I gotta go put, the problem was with mine, it was like I cleaned something, I worked at McDonald's, grocery store, and then the bank, right? But this is here is awesome.
No, I did La Tortilla Factory. You know why La Tortilla Factory is there? Because at La Tortilla Factory was the first role that I had where I started as a receptionist and I got promoted to the orderly entry desk. So from a career perspective, it was the first time that I was promoted. Because before La Tortilla Factory, I was a waitress at the Olive Garden. I was a waitress at the sushi bar. I was a waitress here, but it was the same roles. But La Tortilla Factory, no, that's where I signal like progression because that's what this career game
Yeah.
is all about. How do you
This
get
is,
somewhere and continue to move?
it's like you go from La Tortilla Factory to global diversity narrative and public policy at Google.
Mm-hmm.
But like, by the way, I interviewed Google twice, and I was like a fanboy, and I tried to get in there. I went to Harvard and I did a master's in computer science, hoping that I could pass the interview. Like, I literally was like finishing my master's degree because I studied business because I already had been rejected before because I built some cool shit, and they approached me like, I know like massive historical people there, and they would be like, I did the interview and they're like, you can't cut it here. And then I went to get a master's at Harvard computer science. I finished the master. Now I like, oh my God, I know all this stuff about science and computer science and everything, papers, cryptography, zero bit, whatever. And then I'm like, I go interview again, like, because they were on campus. And I'm like, just going to stroll into Harvard campus, go interview. I got rejected again. You can't Google it. Google is not for anybody. And you're like
Google.
global. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny about that story because people always ask, like, Google. I'm like, yeah, they called me so many times. I kept telling them no. I was not interested. I honestly was not interested. I was busy
Yeah.
doing great things, and I thought, no, I'm just not gonna. I don't want to drink the Google Kool-Aid. I was just not interested. And I think it was just that piece of just saying no, no, no. I had conversations, but I was never. It was never an aspiration. I was very much about what can we get done here? Like, what are we gonna do? I don't want to just be walking around with a nice title. What are we actually gonna do? And I think that approach worked because I didn't go through many
Yeah.
interview cycles, and I was at Google for 2 years. It was amazing 2 years, and
Yeah.
it changes you as a person for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It is it was a tough time. You were there.
Mm, very
This we
tight
can
time.
go we do that. So but we don't care about jobs. We care about fulfilling our purpose, finding our
Hmm.
purpose and doing that. And you're like, see you Google, um, and you start a company. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I actually started in Speedame back in 2019. So I was actually at Cisco at the time. But when you're first in your family, I've always been the type of person that you don't just do one thing at one time. You do multiple
Yeah.
things. And so the Google piece, I walked off that ledge and I said, see you, Google, because at that point I had signed my first customer contract. And that to me is very personal. The minute that someone was exchanging their money to say, I trust you to help me realize what I need done for my own customers, I said, okay, I can't do this two things in a box. And so went to actually take on the full role of CEO for Inspirame, and Inspirame is an equity-driven tech company. So we build technology that basically provides equity and helps democratize higher education. And we focus on affordable education. The primary thing that we focus on is exposure, exposing the wider communities that are often left behind or I consider untapped on the realities of what skills and what roles we need them to go get skills for, because we cannot continue to be complacent and not having the communities that we live in have the skills that are necessary for the workforce of tomorrow. And
Yeah. No,
so in
yeah.
Spirame, the primary product that we have is Teco Guide, and Teco is short for Tecolote. It's a Chicano Nahua name. It's an owl, so our mascot is an owl with a graduation cap. And
I
within
knew
our
that.
app,
I knew
good,
that.
good. For all your listeners who may not know that, when people, because I get that question all the time,
Tecolote.
that's a
Tecolote.
tecolote,
Yeah.
tecolote. But if you go and you download that app, we're on a mission. We're on a mission to map in California first, because that's home for us. After we get California, we prove it here. We're going to go to Texas, New York, and all across the nation because the need is everywhere. We're getting calls all the time. But imagine a place that you can go, that you can navigate any system of higher education and explore, even if you're not a student. That's the power behind what we built, because there's too many obstacles that exist where you have to be connected to an institution to even be exposed or understand what opportunities you have. And there's too many people in our community that are intimidated and believe that they don't belong in an institution just because of the systemic barriers that have existed and have been crushing spirits along the way. So that is what Inspiram is in the business of doing. And we're continuing to grow and build to bring access to the many who are being left behind.
Um, I was going to say this is, yeah. I think we have to figure out, this is a hard problem. I love the name of Inspírame because sometimes I get paralyzed, right? Of like,
Hmm.
how do I help? And I think the whole Latino community, I get all these random texts all the time.
Hmm.
How do we fix this? How do we help the Latinos? I hate anytime anybody wants to create a group or put a committee.
It's just another one. I was the same way. I was so to go back, why Inspírame? I was tired of yet another conversation. I was tired of presenting to the boards. I was tired of presenting to the executive team and having the same conversation because I started my career in the tech industry in the business. And then it was a sales leader who was very sophisticated who would say, Maria, I need you to help me in my sales organization to think about this diversity, equity, and inclusion piece and what we can be doing to ensure that we can meet our customers' needs. Because at the end of the day, the customers are asking. The customers are the ones, the investors are the ones that are asking, right? And
Exactly.
so sitting there and having these conversations internally to saying we need to be connecting to community colleges. Why community colleges? They're the largest form of higher education across the nation. They're open access. So they're naturally and organically full of diverse candidates. They need more guidance and they need more structure. Because the community colleges are that for the community, there's lack of structure, there's lack of governance, and there's lack of awareness around what they offer, which is why we constantly have this continued cycle. And I tell folks all the time, the definition of craziness is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. And that's what so many of these groups have been doing, the same conversations, the same things. And like, I'm not, while you guys continue to have your conversations, I'm going to come build a
Yeah.
product that I know is needed, that is not dependent on a school system, that's actually focused on empowering the community and a platform that enables us to partner with all these different nonprofits who are out there about being education champions so they can see that they no longer have to have a dependency on these education systems because they're overwhelmed, but that we
Yeah.
partner because we can do that and we can actually increase our TAM. And while we're doing that, also giving them the skills that are necessary to know that it's not just getting that degree or that certificate or that skill, but you have to have that growth mindset. You have to have that confidence. You need to know the importance of,
Yeah.
connecting, collaborating, and all the things that I've learned in my 20 years in corporate America. So I like to tell folks that that's what I brought in. I'm the expert in the corporate world. I couple it with the expertise in education because my co-founder, who's my husband as well, has become an expert and is an expert in education. He's been a college counselor the last 20 years. We know the system inside and out, which is why what we built has been built to go against the narrative of the system because we know the system will reject it. And so that's how we
Okay.
get away.
Okay, listen to this. Tell me if you're interested. This is crazy. And I'm gonna put it out here because I might not, yeah. And then so if anybody wants to hear and wants to join on this, then that's great. I don't want to have discussions with people. I just want to tell them if people want to join. If not, get out. But interesting enough. So I went to University of South Florida. And I'll skip blah 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 blah. Just recently, I went there and we're analyzing. University of South Florida in Tampa is number one Latino school in the United States.
Mhm.
It's like 40, 50, 60,000 students, something like that. 22% Latino population. It's the largest. Um,
Mhm.
and so, which I would think it may be California, but I guess. And something like that. It's big.
Mhm.
Then I'm zeroing in on the college, on the computer science school, on the university engineering,
Mhm.
and the Latinos are not graduating at the same rates
Of
as
course not. Of course
non-Latinos,
not.
right?
Yeah.
Normal. And so I was like, okay, how can I help? One of the issues I've seen is that they don't have a co-op program, internship program.
Mhm.
Latinos have to work most of the time,
Mhm.
and so they're struggling to graduate or they're
Mhm.
struggling to pay.
Mhm.
And then when they graduate, they're also struggling to get the right job for what they studied.
Yeah. Because they don't know how to
And
make the
so
transition
they
into
don't,
the
yeah.
work. Exactly.
And so then I was like, where do I begin? So I was going to donate money to hire a counselor that we have to figure out how to write thing.
Let's talk, Elias.
Right.
Let's
So hold on. So then it gets better. So then I said, I started an AI company in the past year, and I was like, why am I going to donate? The ratio of counselors is like It's like 1 to like 900 students in the United States.
Yes, you're right. It is
So
900 students to one. Yes.
I'm just see who's the, yeah. And so then I'm like, what am I going to solve if I donate, I don't know, $400,000 for 3 years of one advisor to this? Like, how am I going to make an impact in the world? So I started coding an AI college advisor.
I have it.
And so I'll show you mine. So we got to talk.
We gotta talk because yeah.
And so I'm doing that, and I'm trying to figure out what to do, and I'm getting distracted because I'm trying to convince the school, because
You
we
don't,
can do it without the school. But I'm actually
that's,
trying. But I'm trying, because I said, look, I can scrape all this content off the web, and so it's all public information. But I'm gonna try because I'm friends with the president, and so like I'm the provost and the deans and the blah blah blah. So they'll want me involved, right? Because they're like, give us money, right? So like with that, they pay attention to me. And
mm-hmm.
so, but they do care. I know the president personally. She's amazing, and so she's like, wants me to help, and we're doing different programs for there. So we should talk,
Let's
because
talk because
I,
what you're doing there, we have done here in California, and
yeah.
we're seeing the impact, and that is why we want to take this all across the nation because
But
it's seen.
have you using AI?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So I'll show you, and then I can give you what I have, but then I'd rather focus on the person that is doing that, because I might not be able to do multiple things at once, or I am doing too many multiple things at once. But that's, and so instead of talking to people about what we could do in committee and invite more people, I just start
No,
doing
let's
it.
do it. Let's put it out. That's what we did. That's this morning when I said I was at the radio station at 6 in the morning, connect with the community, was teaching and educating los papás about the power of how they can be informed and putting it in their hands so they can be enabled. And then that can help answer their 80% of their questions. And then we then go and support the exception piece so that we can get all these students that many have graduated this week from high school, but 60% of them have no plans for the future.
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing.
yeah, yeah.
And it's
We
a
need to help.
cycle. It's happening every year. So let's talk.
Let's talk. That's excellent. I think that's
This is what happens, people, on the
what happened.
podcast. This is all about investing in each other and having these conversations that unlocks magic. That's the value of being able to
Yeah.
have conversations with people that are like-minded. That's when we say finding your purpose. This is what this
Don't talk to
means.
people that won't get shit done.
Exactly.
If you're talking to people that can't do stuff, you need to contribute. You need to learn how to like show up to places and say, I'm willing to do X, even
Mm-hmm.
if it's like picking up the dishes, at a
Mm-hmm.
startup, and
Mm-hmm.
just do it. Everybody has the ability to do something. It's the attitude that matters. But if you're
Exactly.
talking to people that talk, every time I'm talking to people, I'm looking for, where are the results on this individual. If not, I am the rudest person, Maria, you probably will meet. I literally like hang up. I'm like, sorry. But when you asking me for a favor, I don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking. Well, what have you done? Have you done anything about it? Have you started? Just start. At least
Mm-hmm.
start. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody's a finisher. People are starters and not finishing.
Yeah.
It's like I'll start a lot of things that I don't finish, but I finish plenty of things, right?
And that's what, if you ask anyone that I work for in any of those companies, that's what I'm known for. They've said, not only am I strategic, I'm an executor, meaning that
Yeah,
anything that I touch, it has to happen. It has to
yeah.
happen.
I'm inspired. You have me. You have my attention.
Thank you.
What's your call to action? How do we end
my
the
call to
podcast? What are you going to tell people?
my call to action is find your inner. Who are you? What's your purpose? Honestly, I'm going to reintroduce myself to everybody on this podcast so you can see what this looks like. My name is Maria Medrano, and my purpose is
Yeah,
to uplift others by leveraging my knowledge, my experience, and my privilege, and relentlessly looking for those resources to ensure that others understand what their purposes are and help them
yeah,
achieve their biggest dreams. So that's what I'm asking for everyone listening. Everyone, there's a reason why you're on this earth. Everyone has that.
yeah.
Find it, leverage
Yeah,
it, and invest in it. It's your biggest
yeah.
differentiator.
I think that without being a little bit of a downer, is like, I am grateful that I have desire and hunger in me.
Mhm.
There are people that don't.
There. Many.
And that's tough. That's a tough to get out. But if you
Mm-hmm.
do have any sense of any little bit of hunger in you, you just got to channel it to get shit done.
Exactly.
If not, and find your purpose. There's some people that just really struggle with this, and we got to
Yes.
respect that. But
Absolutely.
but if you have any desire to be something or not be poor, whatever, just gotta go do it. Stop talking. Stop talking.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. This is amazing. I'm
Gracias.
excited. And we're
I'm
not.
excited
Don't
as
hang
well.
up. Don't hang up. I'm
No,
gonna
I'm
show
not
you.
going to hang up. I
Okay,
promise.
good. Yeah. Thank you for listening to the American Dream Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And share the episode with your friends. Our work isn't done until everyone has equal access to their dreams.